Today I keep getting the message about social capital and how to use that, and that many of us are getting to a point where we are understanding how to use that. Um, so let me describe what I mean by social capital. A lot of people understand that in a business sense, but we're not used to using it consciously in our social relationships, and that's where it is really, really coming to light. Even our family relationships. And what social capital is your interconnectedness with others, and like how many relationships you have and the quality of those relationships are your social capital. That determines where you fit in the relational field, in the field of love, right? That is your social capital. So that's your connection to others. Right? And we we are here to have relationships with others, right? But we are here to live in our bodies and experience what is going on with our bodies. So the social relationships are really here to help us leverage our position in order to have the experiences that we came for as souls, right? It isn't to live other people's stories, it is to leverage those relationships in order to help us reach our greatest good and highest potential, right? Um, And a lot of that has been some really, really hard learning for us because we come from family dynamics that didn't feel the most nurturing or supportive in teaching us, first and foremost, how to work with the basic equipment we're here with, right? Like many of us did not learn emotional regulation. We learned emotional suppression and repression and oppression. We were conditioned and programmed from generational traumas and fears that were handed down to our parents by their parents, and so on and so forth. So it's really, really hard to assign blame when you start seeing how unconscious it all has been. Like after a while, once you've developed something into a habit, right, and a survival strategy has become a habit long enough and been successful long enough, it becomes really, really hard to change because it becomes autopilot. So you have to make the subconscious conscious. So anyway, I digress. What I am getting for the collective a lot in this is that there are more and more and more of us who have looked at our inner child development, right? And we've seen the beautiful aspects of ourselves that were pure, the joy aspects, the creative aspects, how easily we form connections with others without the fear and the tension. But we also saw the lack of emotional regulation, the lack of body understanding, and that was what we were supposed to be learning because our body is the sensory organ of our awareness. It is the aware field. And then my mind and attention selects from that. So many of us weren't taught how to use these things correctly, our emotions and our body. We didn't learn how to talk to them. So we've grown up with our survival patterns. And we've seen that. We've been able to see that. We understand that the shadow was those survival patterns, the way we learned to protect ourselves when we couldn't find safety where we thought safety was supposed to be. Right? So when you were a child, your safety was supposed to be provided by the parents. Well, if the parents were the source of your fear, and many times it's through their own conditioning. Like there are ways that we teach our children our fear. And if you look at studies on babies, all they have to do is look at you in a moment of something new to them. And if you are in a state of fear, they imprint on that as, oh, I need to be afraid of this, right? That's how we learn to be afraid of snakes and rodents and things. So we get fixed into those states and our shadow develops to protect us when we have had lack of support or information. Hold on a second. I had a dog that was really, really having some licking fun, and I wanted her to stop. It was too distracting for me. But anyway, there are more of us that are getting to the point where we have learned the regulation that we needed to in working with the inner child and reparented that in more in alignment with what we actually value, which is where the integration of the shadow comes in. Because through working with those, we discover what our real values are, right? Like we have the dictionary definitions of what honor, dignity, integrity, honesty, love, peace, all these things are. But until you have taken them and worked with them and made them an in-body experience, then there's still concepts that you are really, really basing off of mimicking and matching the behavior you see in others, and that isn't yours. And when you are put into a moment of crisis or actual challenge, and those belief structures that are your scaffolding for your entire identity and personality, when they are met with real resistance and they aren't actually yours and built on you and what you are here to embody, they will fall. And they do. And that's what we're watching. That's what we see happening in people all the time. And there are more and more of us who have gone through the regulation and the integration and are at a state of coherence, right? There's a heart-mind coherence now. We understand how to work with the cycles around us, nature cycles, the astrological currents, solar radiation, the effects of the planets and gravity and all of these things on us, weather, earthquakes, volcanoes, the cycles of the moon, the cycles that occur within our bodies, tidal cycles, the hormone cycles. We've learned how to work with cycles. We have learned how to feel in our bodies when we are out of bounds for where our values are designed to lead us. When we are operating within bounds, we have come to understand the peace that is with that. We have learned how to carry grief without collapsing. We have learned that a lot of the times consciousness brings a level of quiet and peace that is understimulating, and how to deal with the panic that comes from that. Because there is a little bit of a reaction to the lack of reaction that real consciousness brings, and no one wants to talk about that. The lack of drama and the lack of hormone spikes will create its own sense of panic. But if you're in the collective that I'm speaking to, you've even gotten to a point where you're okay with that. Like, it doesn't mean that the challenges don't still happen. Obviously, we still live in a world that is occurring. But when everything is on the waves, we have learned how to hold our center, right? And we stay closer to the axis. Where we return to center better. And I really just wanted to say that now that you have reached that point where you are really, really, your inner core is really, really solid, and your outer core, your actions and behaviors are really starting to reflect, and they are at this point, if you're in this collective, you are starting to live in principle and value. And this is where the social capital is coming in, because now those gates are open. You've had a lot of purging, because as you started stepping into your values, those relationships, those connections that you were born with that were framed in these other narratives that weren't true to you begin to disintegrate. Because once you step into your authentic expression, when you are in a mismatched field, in a mismatched location in the field, it will readjust to place you where you are in coherence and resonance with the energies around you. Right? So once you're coherent and resonant within, that needs to ripple outwards. So there is some upheaval to those social relationships. And you've experienced a lot of that, and a lot of those are shed. they're coming. Now that you have that calm center and you're able to catch yourself when you're out of alignment and pull yourself back into alignment more effectively, more readily, and with a lot more confidence, those relationships are going to start forming around you that are resonant for you. And that is your social capital. So be really, really aware as people are coming to you, because this will be the test. You have a choice in how easily you make this adjustment. And you can continue to live in the past and you'll feel the tears because now you know too much. So you can continue to allow people who do not align with your values into your life. And you can try to work with them the way you used to. You can try to people please. You can try to allow the breadcrumbing and the gaslighting, but it won't feel right with you anymore, and it will cause you actual significantly more physical harm and mental load and cost on your energy, because you know consciously now what you're doing. You know the pattern. So as these relationships come in, realize that that is the question. That is the only question. You are being properly located in the field. So this is like an interview with everybody else, and you are the gatekeeper. You have the keys. You are the student and the teacher. So what energies do you want to work with and guide? Those are relationships you want to leverage. And where's your niche? Where's your gift? Where's your skill? Where's your service? Because that's our responsibility. And where are you finding your teachers, your inspiration, your motivation to keep moving? Because stagnant ponds grow algae. So this is where you're at. So know how to hold your center, stay in your center, and look at your relationships that way. Don't let the past things in. You're not looking for students to fix. You're looking for the students who feel more like home. Right? They're going to be your friends, because we're learning how to walk each other home. It's not going to be a hierarchy. They're going to be your friends. And they are going to learn from you, and you are going to learn from them. So pick people who you can add to and who add to you. It's going to continue to cause harm in your life to carry the knowing that you have and to not leverage your social capital to match it. And we are being asked right now to step into the confidence and the courage to do that. Safety is a big theme in the energies now. And all of this is happening and occurring to tell you it's time. You are safe. You can trust yourself. Go out. Find them. That's what I've got.